Right now, we have American cities in the Carolinas that are currently underwater as a result of Hurricane Florence and the torrential rainfall and sea level rise that came along with that storm. And it's not getting any better right now. It will eventually, hopefully. But right now, it's, about as bad as we've seen in a long time. But here's the thing. These kinds of storms, like Florence, luckily, slowed down to a 1 before it made landfall, whereas it could have been making landfall as a 4, a very powerful 4, but it downgraded. But this is a new normal. We saw it last year with Maria, with Harvey, with Irma, now with Florence. And it's not just the new normal. They're actually getting worse. Normal's gone out the window. And that's actually what renowned climate scientist Michael Mann told people in an op-ed for The Guardian last week. An op-ed, you can find the link to it in the video description here. I strongly recommend everybody take the time to read through that op-ed. And after you've read it, I want you to reread the final paragraph of it. Because it is in that final paragraph that Michael Mann tells us the most powerful thing that anyone in the United States can do to help protect the environment and to help basically do what we can to fight climate change. If you don't want to read it yourself, don't worry, I'll read it to you. We must transition away from fossil fuels toward renewable energy even more rapidly, and we must elect politicians who will support such efforts. In the U.S., there's an opportunity to do so in less than 2 months now in the upcoming midterm elections, where we must elect politicians who support enlightened policies on energy and climate and vote out of office those who don't. Now, there's a lot of steps that need to be taken in order to reduce our emissions, help combat climate change effectively, get renewable energy going. All of those are things that need to be done. We have to, fix factory farming. But none of that can even be done if we have a government controlled by people who routinely deny that science is real. And that's the point that Michael Mann is trying to make there. Dr. Mann understands that. He knows that as long as we get these politicians who are funded by fossil fuel interests, who go to work on the Senate floor and throw a snowball and say, if global warming's a thing, how is there a snowball here? Huh? Think about that. As long as we have morons like that in the U.S. Senate or the U.S. House, we will never be able to get any kind of meaningful action on climate change, ever. And even Obama, look, he did talk a great game on climate change. He did some great things on it. He also took a couple steps backwards on the issue. Oil drilling, offshore drilling in the United States hit a record pace at the time under his administration. But at least we were also putting other things in place to help control emissions from power plants, trying to protect waters and streams. Meanwhile, the current administration, regardless of what you think of Obama, the current administration, run by Republicans, is trying to reduce fuel emission standards for automobiles, basically bringing back the era of those gas-guzzling SUVs. They're trying to make it to where power plants can put more mercury and other toxins into our air. They're trying to actually allow more drilling on public and national lands, in national parks. They sold off those areas, and then the woman who was in charge of selling them off went to work for one of the oil companies who bought them. This has to stop. There is a very clear choice in this year's elections. You have a party, may not be perfect on the issue of climate, but at least they understand that climate change is real, that human beings are making it worse, and that we need to do something about it. That happens to be the Democratic Party. Then you have the other party, who a majority of their voters admit climate change is real, that humans are causing it, and that we should do something. But the party leaders, the elected officials from that party, keep telling us it's not real. Science doesn't know, or even worse, I'm not a scientist, so let's just not pay attention to it. Well, how about you listen to the scientists? Not just the elected officials, but the public. And when we have somebody who knows as much about climate change as Michael Mann, telling us that the biggest thing we can do is vote, that's an idea that you need to keep in your back pocket at all times. Because it's not just about climate change either. You want to do something about healthcare? Vote. You want to do something about teacher pay increases? Vote. You want to do something about anything in this country? The first and most important step you can do is to make sure that you get out there and vote. Because if you don't, it's not just you that's not voting. Maybe your friend doesn't vote. Maybe your neighbor doesn't vote either. Maybe the rest of your family's not voting. Those numbers add up pretty quickly. And we saw back in 2016 what happens when nearly half of the country decides to stay home and vote. It's what got us the government that we have today.